Pete, when you're ready, just text me. Okay, we're live. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the 5:30 p.m. Legislative and Ordinance Committee of the City Council being called to order at 5:30. Attendance, Burns.
Here.
Adams.
Here.
And Oniski is here. Public participation. This is for anyone who'd like to speak to something that's not on the agenda. So, you know, we can wait till the ordinance comes up if you'd like to speak then. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to any item that's not on the agenda? Okay, thank you. Next item is number 4, approval of the minutes of the June 15th, 2021 meeting.
Motion to approve minutes of June 15, 2021.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. The next item is a petition for the zoning amendment submitted by Zoning Board of Appeals for an update on non-conforming situations at Article 2, Article 3, and Article 3, another item in there. So, in your package is the ordinance. We've also got some key points that Jay had sent in on the ordinance. This was proposed because the ZBA more clearly wanted to define the purview of the changes to pre-existing situations which don't comply to current zoning regulations between the building department, which has got the by right changes, and the board, the ZBA, which has changes which require a special permit, generally allow more flexibility by right. It also locally codifies the state grandfathered lot protection and adds a buildability route through special permit for undersized lots that may fall into common ownership. Allows a house that was completely destroyed by fire or by voluntary demo to be rebuilt by right, where the current ordinance does not allow this, doesn't allow rebuilding of non-conforming structures. And the proposal is more permissive and should result in small-scale projects like homeowner type projects, additions, sheds, garages, not having to go through the time and expense for a special permit. This has gone through the zoning committee from Westfield for the city council. So, I mean, it's been vetted as to whether it's I won't say good or not, but whether it's been whether it's good for the zoning rules by Councilor Flaherty's committee. Peter, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add.
No, I think that the only thing that I would add to it is that the ZBA has been pretty aggressive about trying to figure out how to make things a little bit more customer friendly for people to do things that aren't controversial. I mean, I'd say that 75% of the things that come before them are pretty much non-controversial items. Things like a shed within 8 feet, or like you said, things like rebuilding a house that was burned after a fire. Those are the kinds of things that this is working to address. I know that Jay and the zoning board have been working to try to just clean that up to make it easier for people to do things that make sense. And that's really all that this item is aiming to do.
Thank you. Any questions from the councilors?
No.
Okay, I have no questions. I've looked through this and it's pretty clear. And I think if it helps the ZBA with their job, I mean, we had that burned out house that took forever to get rebuilt.
On Mill Street, there's been a park, there's been a few of them.
And I mean, it seems like this would help with that, where you can build a non-conforming house if it was a non-conforming house on the lot.
So as long as you're not increasing that non-conformance. So you can't build if it was 10 feet from the line, you can't build at 5 feet from the line. You're not planning to make it more non-conforming. You're trying to just meet the standard that was there previously.
All right, thank you. Any questions or a motion?
A motion to accept the ordinance amendments relative to non-conforming regulations.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. What's that?
That's a snapshot in general, right?
That, this will be, we'll be going through both.
Next.
Yeah, the sheet that, the city planner provided us some notes on both, so.
This one's like this here.
All right, I'll go to item 6, which is a petition for a zoning amendment submitted by the Zoning Board of Appeals to update the definition of family and related effective residential living arrangements. Matters at sections 2-20, 3-40.3, and 3-50.3. So again here, this came before City Council and was also vetted by zoning, planning, and development committees. And from notes that the city planner provided, it really doesn't change what was proposed. They switched out the word household with the word family, and the word family is no longer defined under zoning. So I think that was part of the heartburn, I guess, trying to define family in a way that wasn't really family as most people think about it. I mean, it was proposed because a result of a complaint or appeal that 4 unrelated people were living together, which is currently prohibited by the zoning ordinance because they weren't family, and it would be defined as a lodging house, which is prohibited in most areas. So what this is doing with the ordinance change is it would allow this where it wouldn't need to be called a lodging house, which puts it into a whole different category. The ZBA feels this ordinance is not responsive contemporary land use regarding how people live today, and resulting in it being unenforced or unenforceable. Also seeks to expand the definition of people living together to include non-blood/marriage living arrangements, similar to what was in other community zoning definitions of family, such as West Springfield, Amherst, Northampton, Springfield, Holyoke. And 4 unrelated individuals is a common limit. The ZBA proposal uses that number as a factor for determining density and parking requirements, which should be valid interests governed by zoning. It could also be applied to sober homes which currently have a unlimited cap of residents. The proposal is more permissive and does not alter the current regulations affecting related people living together, such as a traditional family. So it doesn't mean you have to get rid of your kids and take somebody else that's in there. It's not related.
Can't do that.
Nah. No, it says it's okay to leave it the way it is. So the new definitions that are being added are bed and breakfast, a single-family dwelling which lodgings are or intended to be let for transient occupancy as a commercial venture, utilizing a common entrance, and which may include furnishing of meals. A dwelling, a single-family dwelling would be changed to the definition of a building on a lot designed and occupied as a residence for 1 household, residence for 2 households living independently of one another in separate units, and multiple family or multifamily or apartment would be a building on a lot designed and occupied as a residence for 3 or more households living independently of one another in separate units. 3 or more dwelling units on the same lot, even if occurring in single-family and or 2-family dwelling structures, shall be considered a multifamily dwelling use. A household is considered persons living together in one dwelling unit, and consisting of either members of a common occupancy or any persons related by blood marriage or similar domestic partnership, legal adoption or guardianship. In the case of the latter, domestic health caregivers or up to 3 roomers may be considered common occupancy. So this has been vetted through our law department as well as our building enforcement, code enforcement, to make sure that it's passable, that it would have teeth, it's good to go. So that's what we're waiting on. The last time we brought it in, the building department and the building inspection team didn't see it. They've gone through it with law and have approved of this. Peter, would you like to address it all?
This is one that's been around for a long, long time. I know that the people with direct experience here that will speak more practically to it. But I mean, what we've run into over the years has been numerous complaints that have been that the city's been unable to act upon in places where people are living 8 or 10 unrelated people in a unit together. Most of the time this is a single family house, and most of the time when we get these, it's in neighborhoods that aren't used to having renters generally. There was a case that was settled in state court probably about 8 years ago now in Worcester. It was based in Worcester. Neighbors had sued a landlord who had been stacking 6 or 7 people, and more of the problem there was health code related, but the result of the case was that it made most of these ordinances that define family unenforceable. It was deemed non-constitutional to limit that ability to keep limited the definition of family to such a small definition. So we've been battling it ever since, and it's just been a trial for us. And this legislation takes into account, like it says, more modern definitions of how people live. There's a lot more people who decide to live single for a longer time, and are families that are, I hate to say the word family because it sounds legal, but households or groupings of people who decide to live together, like a mother and 3 a single mother and 3 kids, and a single mother and her 2 kids, and it just becomes a difficult thing for enforcement purposes. But it also makes it for a much more manageable thing from our perspective of enforcing it, but also of making housing and multifamily housing, 2 families, 3 families, a more marketable place for people to want to live as well. I know that there's also been concerns relative to when people purchase investment properties, when people of good reputation and solid thought try to purchase multifamily properties. There's heartburn involved when they think that they may be skirting an ordinance if they're trying to get 4 people into an apartment or 5 people into an apartment that shouldn't be able to hold that many. And while they just don't feel like it turns into a financing problem with a bank or anything along those lines, this just cleans all of that up. And I think it makes good sense to modernize that.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak? Please state your name and address.
My name is Daniel Tenero. I live at 38 Claremont Street in Westfield. It's my wife Sheila, we have come here tonight to speak in support for the proposed changes of definitions to better reflect current use of zoning space. We feel a standard operating procedure should be in place and implemented so we as residents can have the confidence that the proper use of space is being enforced. In our experience, the city's current definitions are antiquated, not being enforced, and are in need of an update.
Thank you. Do any counselors have questions? Oh, please, yeah, I'm sorry.
So we are, I'm saying we are that couple, but we are having experience in our neighborhood where we had a college rental across the street a year ago. We were always under the impression, based on the old definitions, that 3 tenants were allowed. If they went over 1, they were non-compliant. So we proceeded with the ZBA. That's the case that probably hinges on bringing these changes out. And it was defined in that case that you referred to really didn't depend on family. It was tenants versus that hold a lease and those that do not. The judge in that case said that an ordinance speaks for itself and that it did support the ordinance, but it came down to were they tenants or were they roomers. So that's a little different. So when we pursued, is the roomer the definition? There were no definitions for roomer. The city went on to cite that particular case and saying that these individuals had leases, and so it was allowed. What that did is then expose the definition of family. So we could have challenged that. We chose, we thought, is family just blood relatives? No. So I reached out to attorneys, reached out to elected officials, reached out to people running for office. Crickets. No one. It makes everyone uncomfortable. No one wants to talk about it. So I'm thrilled to see these definitions. They broaden what a household is. They do allow for anyone to go into anywhere in the city if you're compliant with the ordinance. It is, to me, what civic planning should be. It should be available to everyone if everyone is complying and observing it. So to say that, again, neighborhoods not used to having renters, that's really not where we're at. We dealt with this college rental for several years. And we were, you're not thrilled to have a male dorm, right? And that's how it's advertised, a dorm, next to you. So this, and I think you were involved several years ago also, 2013, 2015, when you tried to change it. So this has come up before. It's sat there, and landlords have just gone on with life, and no one's told them that you can't do this. So we embrace these. I think they're great for framework. They're structural. Anybody can, looking at them, if you're coming into town and you want to purchase property, here it is, it makes sense, it's relevant, and so we support it.
Thank you very much.
I hope they were soccer players, man.
Not even hockey players. One group, a new group every year.
If this was in place back then, would it have changed the situation? Or the situation at all? Or made it better? Or
I don't think so.
Oh, it wouldn't.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
If this was in place back then, would it have been better for you or not?
It is something you can accept, yes, if it's the law, and this is the way it is, then you accept it. It hasn't been the law. It's been blood relatives for decades
Okay.
and run rampant the other
Right.
way.
So this will help if that situation comes about?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Good,
yeah.
okay, that's my question.
Right.
Yep.
Good, okay.
So it sounds like it's, dotting the i's and crossing the t's for what was happening anyway,
Right.
although it was not really right the way it was happening, if I'm explaining that correctly.
It's been non-compliant
Yeah, right.
for
Non-compliant,
decades.
that's probably a better definition than mine.
My only question is it going to affect the two-family, the multi-family houses? How many renters can be in,
Each unit would be a household, I think is my understanding of what the definition is. So however many people that household becomes, is each of those units is allowed to have that number of people in them so long as they meet that definition. The thing with one of the challenges with it becomes the health code really becomes the thing that is really the hammer that you can hit the nail with, is if there's more than enough people, if there's 250 square, I don't know what it is, it's 100 or some number of square feet specifically per person that is a minimum floor for how many people you can get in a household. But this would allow for each dwelling unit to have a household in it, is my understanding.
So say it's two-family,
Yeah.
and it has 8 bedrooms, each unit can have
So
4.
it's the 4 unrelated is part of it, but it's, I mean, a household an 8-bedroom that has 10 members that are 10 or 12 members that are related to one another, so long as the health code minimums are met, would be allowed to be there. But the definition of unrelated is,
4 each.
yeah.
All right, so that means we're going to have to revisit we're going to have to get deeper into this with the 2-family and 3-families then.
I think this hits it.
I mean, this hits it here in
Yeah.
this ordinance, but they're you know, because it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
There's 5, 6, 7, 8 of them in one unit. You know, and it's, you know,
Yeah,
this isn't just the only
our
call
only
ever
fallback
got.
in that
It's all.
experience is the health code. That you're not, I mean, obviously it happened, I'm imagining that it happens. The enforceability from the building department is, I think that the building department, from my understanding, and I wasn't in the meeting, that's why I'm just here for Jay today, but the challenge was enforceability of the one that we had. There were too many things that somebody could point to that these people were unrelated by blood that just became a problem.
So health code regulates by square footage,
Right.
and I would guess number of bathrooms might have.
Oh, yeah, that kind of stuff.
All right, so that limits how many people. Now it's just not mattering whether they
Yeah.
are blood related.
Right.
Or
That's
unrelated.
a secondary, that one's the one that everything's got to, basically has to be, you can't even, regardless of if you meet the other standards, that's the one that you have to meet.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we're myself and Council Figgy, we're working on single family, dual family, 3-family. So we're waiting for this to get done, but I appreciate you guys did really well. Thank you. I mean, you really dug deep. That's admirable. In the Code of Ordinances, City of Westfield, Amplex B zoning adapted September 3rd, 1987, relevant to defining family.
Did you say the amendment?
Yeah.
Making a new amendment, I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So we're giving a positive recommendation to the
3-0.
city council. This will be at the city council meeting agenda. Well, it's on the agenda, or should be if it's not already. And it'll be discussed on Thursday at 7 o'clock, right, regular time, 7 o'clock. Thank you very much.
And if any problems, just call Council Burns, he'll be the new code enforcement officer soon.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, back to work. Item number 7, motion of councilors Figgy and Adams
It's the first one I made all year.
to revise, probably didn't even know it, to revise section 2 to allow council of aging meetings to be held at the senior center, which was referred to L&O and legal. So this has gone through legal, and they had proposed the change to the ordinance, which really just adds the council on aging meetings may be held at the Westfield Senior Center on 45 Noble Street, which is part of some other, I won't say oddballs, but some other type of meetings that could be held outside of regular hours, or what city council considers regular hours, such as the airport can meet at the, airport commission can meet at the airport. Fire commission can meet at Little River Fire Station, and this was being added. So if you would like to come forward, or just sit right there and speak.
I'll just stay right
I'm
here,
sorry,
Councilor.
I'm sorry, Tina, for the short notice.
Oh, no, that's okay.
It's been crazy, and
That's fine. That's
thank
okay.
you, thank you for coming to
This
explain
actually
this.
came up by one of my board members, and it was discussed at the last board meeting. But I had actually asked this question about 12 years ago when I was first appointed director, which was, why is there a reason why we can't meet at the senior center? Now, at the time, I was a rookie, so when I was told, well, it's an ordinance, a city ordinance, it didn't occur to me that an ordinance can be changed. I just thought, okay, it's law, that's what we have to do. But then one of the board members said, some of the other boards and commissions meet outside of City Hall. So I went, you're right. So that's what brought us. But I have 3 reasons for it. I absolutely support this. Accessibility, transparency, and staff resources. So accessibility, this building obviously is accessible. However, the senior center is more accessible to the seniors, and those are the people, it's just, and when we get our new sliding front doors, it'll be even more accessible. So, it is a little bit, we do meet, and we have gotten permission through our ordinance to meet during the day. So we meet at the second Monday of the month at 1 o'clock. Part of that is because our board has to be made up of at least over 50% of our board has to be made up of seniors, so that's 60 and older. I have people on the board that don't drive at night, so that's kind of a given. So in terms of accessibility, if somebody wants to attend our meetings, which they can, they're open to the public, we put that in our newsletter, they got to get over to City Hall, and if they're not very mobile, they've got to take the elevator, go up to the second floor, get out of their car, the whole thing. The senior center is, a lot more accessible than that, so that would be one of my arguments. But I think even a bigger point is just transparency. And I think that holding them at the senior center where, it's in the middle of the day, we have other activities going on, so people would be in the building, it's less of a challenge for them to get to a meeting. So that if they even just want to see what happens, we get very few of the seniors who actually attend the meeting, unless they're, I have those who pay attention to the agenda, and if there's something that they're really interested in, or if there's something that they want to bring up under public participation. But for the most part, a lot of them don't really understand how a meeting is run because they've never attended, because it is kind of a burden to get over here. So I think that, just to have a better sense of what we're doing, why we're doing it, who's representing them on the board, I think that would absolutely open those doors up for people. Rather than having to get in their car and drive over here, they can have lunch and then just go upstairs if we have the meetings up on the second floor. And then my third reason is something that I've really looked at since COVID, and that is staff resources. And I'm doing this with pretty much every time I come over to City Hall, and I'm really looking at why do I have to go over to City Hall? Because, for 15 months, they tried to keep us out of City Hall, out of other people's departments, and we did that, and we did it successfully. And I look at my own time. I put in a lot more hours than I should, and that I'm, supposed to put in. But part of that is every time I have to come over here, it's about an extra 25 minutes. When you figure staff at the senior center parks in the farthest parking spaces to give the closest spaces to our seniors. So I got to walk all the way across the parking lot, drive over here, find a space, go up 2 flights of stairs, and then do the same thing in reverse. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's like 25 minutes out of my day of doing nothing if I have to come over here for payroll, for department head meetings, for board meetings, and so forth. So, to me, it's like the more that we can do in the center, we have a beautiful center, we have the facilities to hold the meetings there, that's a great use of staff resources. It also enables my staff to attend, which they can. If I have individual staff members, sometimes there's something up for discussion that involves a program. I would like to have the coordinator or the director of that program at the meeting, but to do it here, again, it's 25 minutes plus whatever, another hour and change to actually sit at the meeting. Not a good use of staff resources, but sometimes it's just really helpful to have, the person, the staff member that's the most involved there to either explain it to the board. Otherwise, it's always me doing it. So, I think other boards and commissions meet in other places. To me, this just makes a lot of sense. So there's my pitch.
Thank you, Tina. Questions or comments from the councilor? See, you were so nice as to bring this forward.
Me and Ralph, yeah.
You and the councilor?
No, I was on the board. I served on the board for 2 years, and he was right. There wasn't many people there, seniors that came to the board, and it was probably for what Tina said. They just didn't want to get here and get up there. Having it down there, I think she'll care for what you wish for.
You know what? And you know what? But it's really interesting that you said that, Jimmy, because I believe that this is not going to make my life easier, other than because I know I'm going to have a lot more
You
people
are.
attending.
You are.
So
Which is
there's
good.
But you know what?
Yep.
That's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
You won't get transparency
now.
now, Tina.
I'm sorry?
You will get transparency now. You'll have plenty of
You know what?
transparency.
It is what it is.
And it's good. It
You know,
really
they
is.
are taxpayers. I
Right.
work to serve them, so I absolutely understand. I'm thinking to myself, oh.
I think
know I'm
it's
opening up this Pandora's box,
I
but
think it's a great idea.
It
I
is
really do.
essentially-
You know, thanks for
question.
bringing it forward.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, as do I. I'm guessing you're gonna get 10 times your attendance.
no, I'm sure I will.
At least,
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
at least, because of all the reasons. I mean, it's right there. People are there.
Yeah,
And the people who are affected are there,
yeah.
you know, which is very important, you know.
But I've always said, my board members hold me accountable, and that's a good thing. I mean, I've had some difficult board members, only because it makes me have to work harder, and that's okay. That's what I'm there for. So I think the same goes for the seniors. But I also think it's an educational process that's going to go both ways. Certainly, I know that I'm going to be hearing more from them, but I think they're also going to have a better glimpse as to what we're doing and how hard we work for them and on their behalf behind the scenes, which I think most of them don't have a clue about that. Why would they? You know?
Yeah. Be a greater sense of, ownership too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I do. That's where it should be.
Well, it's such a good idea. Does anyone want to make a motion
Councilor
for
Adams
approval?
does.
Yeah, motion to amend the code of ordinances to allow the senior center to meet on I'm sorry, Tina, what were the dates again?
It's the second Monday of the month at 1 o'clock.
Second Monday of the month at 1 p.m.
Second.
I would like to note that the 1 PM part's already in the ordinance.
Yeah,
What this is allowing is to let them have
Yeah.
the meetings at the senior
Just
center.
being thorough, that's all.
Thank you for your thoroughness, Counselor. It's appreciated
I
by all.
expect nothing less, Councilor Adams.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you very
I'm
much, Tina.
I'm just happy you corrected him.
Thank you, Councilors.
Doesn't happen very often.
Actually, so I didn't realize we are having a city council meeting on Thursday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Did not realize.
Last one.
well,
Okay,
not the last one.
thank
Well,
you.
this
Thank you very much.
You're gonna be here for that?
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. It's a long walk to get here, but you're gonna be here?
Tina, you don't have to come to the
Thursday.
city
You're
council.
gonna be here
No, I have
Thursday?
to, you know what, I have to see what's going on with personal action, because I have somebody in there, so
See ya.
Thank you. Next item is item 8, submitting a resolution of the City Council of the City of Westfield authorizing approval of the mayor to sign a host community agreement with Lucky 7 Cannabis, Inc., a Massachusetts corporation to be operated at Timber Swamp Road for marijuana production operation. I am going to abstain from this and leave the room.
I make a motion
Hang on, let me give my reason, Councilor.
You don't have to.
I'm going to give my reason, because I work for and with employees who are principals of another cannabis operation in Westfield, so I don't want to give the impression that I'm being unfair in any way, so it's best if I scoot out of here for a few minutes. I'd like to see if there's an election for a temporary, or a chair pro tem. Somebody want to make?
Motion to nominate James Adams.
You did that quick.
Councilor Adams. Chairman pro tem.
Motion made, and
I can't
I'll second.
Yeah, I can't second my own.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Call me when you
All
come.
right, back in about a half hour.
Yeah, I'll be sitting on the stairs in the phone. You can have the throne if you want.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Did you have the letter, Billy?
Huh?
Did you have the
I have it here. if you
It's
need
all in the package.
Yeah,
Counselor
good.
Babinski's letters Counselor Babinski's letters in the package.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I'm just turning this right over to you.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
kind of handle things here.
Yeah, over the course of the past probably 4 months, 5 months, we've been working with Lucky 7. This is the team from Lucky 7 on a host community agreement for Tier 1 cultivation license. This is cultivation only. The Zero Timber Swamp Road is on the corner of Timber Swamp and Maderos Way. And it is the same property that we talked about 6 months ago, 9 months ago, that we took out of 61A from the Tomasco family. So that's what that's what where it is. That's what it is. I'll leave it to the group to talk about it, but the host community agreement itself is pretty much the same as we've generally done. There have been some modifications to a couple of the sections that are haven't been as controversial. Shanna Reed and Attorney Mensing worked through it, and if there are any questions on what those were, I'll let Attorney Mensing speak to it. But the mayor is asked to put this forward. As far as cultivations grow, as of now, it's relatively small. They're looking to do about 5,000 square feet of cultivation, 2,500 additional square feet of operational space, and then looking to potentially expand in the course of the next couple of years to about 10,000 square foot cultivation. But it's the parts that we were most impressed are there. They have a business background. Separately, they've built a successful business in office furniture, and they were well capitalized, ready to hit the ground running for this. And I'll turn it over to their team to talk more about the specifics of the project.
Thank you very much. I'm Attorney Blake Mensing. I'm a cannabis attorney. So all I do is this kind of work, and I'm also a former municipal attorney. As Peter said, this is a small cultivation. It's literally the smallest you may hold in the state. For context, it takes about 10,000 square feet of canopy to supply one brick and mortar store for a year. So their initial tier would be enough to supply half of the needs of one store. So it's not, an ultra giant operation. And the Cannabis Control Commission regulations require, frankly, security regulations and protocols that are above and beyond what banks or pharmacies are required to have. And there's detailed restrictions on becoming a nuisance due to odor. But I will point out that the parcel is just under 28 acres. So there's plenty of space to sort of pick and choose where the facility can be put in terms of sort of screening it from public sight. The only way anyone could enter the facility would be if they're a local inspector, police or fire, or a state inspector or an employee or a visitor with an actual reason to be there. There won't be any exterior signage that'll sort of give away what's being grown for the obvious reason of avoiding becoming an attractive target for criminals. I'm here to answer any and all regulatory questions that you might have. This host community agreement would be the springboard which we jump from to apply to the state. And then there's a lengthy back and forth where you have to show that you meet each and every one of their standards.
So they had their community outreach meeting about a month ago.
Yeah, about a month ago.
So that part has been done. They have not been to the planning board yet. They have not drawn out the site plan or any special permitting requirements that they might have. So that drawing is still required. They're looking before they invest that money to make sure that they have the ability to get a host community agreement.
Absolutely. And the plan, if we're fortunate enough to get a host community agreement, would be put the hat in the ring on the state level. They're going to twiddle their thumbs for months, frankly. So we're going to use that time, and I'm aware of the July sort of doldrums in municipal government where nothing much happens, and I enjoy that myself, so I'm not going to complain. But yeah, we pursue the local permits expeditiously if we're able to apply to the state.
Yeah, and you're good. I guess I can ask a question here. So, are you taking it all at 61A? Is some of that wet back there? I know the area a little bit, but.
So I actually haven't been to the site.
I can speak on that.
Jeff, I'm AJ, by the way.
Hi, I'm Jim. That's Mike.
Nice to meet you guys.
If you
you
like-
and I have talked on.
Yeah.
Jeff is the one who very passionate about cannabis. He went out. He was the one who initially located this property. We're pretty humble guys. Jeff has done a ton of legwork with it, and he can explain exactly what we did with the parcel and then how the town has helped us to protect the wetlands on the property.
So to your point, there is wetlands back there. There is a perennial stream that cuts through, and we have already started a significant amount of surveying. We've already done our wetland survey and delineation, and we've had a pretty heavy amount of surveying done on the site to actually mark out boundaries and to get all of that done. The engineering team is preparing to record all of that with the appropriate departments so that that can all be surveyed and actually on record. And then the perennial stream cuts about halfway through. So if we were to say usable land would probably be 10 acres of space, and that's towards that front corner of space there. And then there's quite a bit more space as it cuts through, but you'd have to just make sure that you're not in any of the appropriate buffer zones or interfering with anything over there. So they've guided us as far as now we've got the wetlands determination done, and our engineering team is finalizing the surveys so they can approach the planning board and get the zoning determination forms. And this is all subject to should we receive a HCA with the city. So hopefully we've spoken to the mayor and just said that we would love to join the city. We would love to be productive members of the community. My sister lives in Westfield, and I've been familiar with the city for a long time, and we're pretty humble guys, hard workers. We do office furniture.
We do a lot with the communities, which is one thing that we've told Blake before, and we'd love to extend with the city here. My father, who originally started the company that we run in 1992, started it because he had 4 kids and was in the military and was looking to come up with a little extra grocery money. And it grew larger and larger and larger. 7 years ago, he moved down to North Carolina. Jeff and I have collectively put 32 years in the company, so 1 year right after the other. We absolutely love the properties that we have. We have a lot of properties in Connecticut. We keep them extremely well maintained. The outfit that does all of our landscaping, we do yearly pressure washing. Our properties are immaculate. We take a lot of pride in them. So we take a lot of pride in the property that we bought here. We want to make sure that we're good neighbors, but we also want to extend something from our side, which we work with a ton of veteran groups in Connecticut. We donate a lot of furniture to them. Along with furniture, we donate a lot of gift cards. Last year at the Rocky Hill Veteran Home, we went out and got each individual veteran that stays in that home, which there's just about 600 of them, a gift card to Walmart so that they could get out, shop. It's something that holds close to our heart. We'd like to do the same here. I know that we have to put forward.
Yeah, so there's an entity, a statewide entity, nonprofit called the New England Veterans Alliance. Obviously, the intended beneficiaries are veterans, and what the state requires as a function of licensure is known as a positive impact plan. So there are 29 areas of disproportionate impact where the state ran the numbers and said, okay, people of color and white people consume cannabis at almost the exact same rates, but the arrests, convictions, and severity of the punishment is harsher for people of color. So what the state says is try to give back. So the New England Veterans Alliance has outposts where they do educational work in some of those 29 areas of disproportionate impact. So that's on the state side, but I know Jeff and AJ are committed to being good citizens. And as the son of a veteran myself, that means a lot. And then just going back a half step, before I was a cannabis attorney, I was an environmental attorney and a conservation commissioner. So if I need to dig into the wetlands issues, it's certainly within my wheelhouse.
Yeah, no, I knew there was a piece there that, there was a good piece, and then behind it you had some wetlands. It's not like you got 10 acres, so it's not like you got plenty of room.
Yeah, we'll squeeze it in no way offending any of the buffer zones.
I think one of the things that I know that probably will come up, but one of the other things that came out of this, their proposals that was of interest to us was their commitment to organic growing, their commitment to environmental stewardship that they demonstrated through their application, and they're basically looking to use native soil. That kind of thing, so I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Because it's a plant, and if you treat it like a plant instead of an industrial product, I think you get better end results. But it's helpful to have a minimization of the environmental impact because of that choice.
We're recyclers. by nature. That's what we do. We recycle furniture like you're sitting in and you're seeing in this room. We bring it back to our shop, we refinish it, similar to companies like Conklin's or Davies that might be in the area, and we do the same thing as them, except we do it on a large scale, just like some of these other programs. That started our passion for being, I wouldn't say conservationists in sight, but being green. Being green-minded is something that has been a core tenet of our business for 28 years, 30 years, and it's something that we're committed to up here. There are many MRO, like certified organic companies that are local, and shipping soil across the country is one of the least environmentally friendly things that you can do. You're spending gas moving dirt. And there's a company in Westfield, right? And again, this is many things that comes down to local. 360 Recycling next to the airport, run by Mr. Nathan, is a fantastic company. He makes dirt. We're already talking to him. I've already talked to both Tom and Kurt over at Cannabis Connection. Again, being local is something they've said, we will put your products on our shelves if you get your HCA. We want to support this community. We want to build here and support this city. That's why we are here. We didn't choose Springfield or one of these other areas because we love Westfield. We want to grow with you guys. We'd love to be successful in business, and there'd be nothing better that I would love to do than say, here's a big fat tax check.
Because your sister, that's what.
That was the other part. No, but the other part of it, and he said taxes. This is new growth.
Yep.
This is so.
Yep.
One of the things that we've tried to do when we're doing these HCA's is not necessarily have people who are going into existing buildings that are already being taxed. We're trying to get to a point where there's new growth, and that was one of the things that we were trying to deal with here too.
Yeah, right.
Now there's a 3%, right?
So there's two things. There's a 3% excise tax. That's only on retail cannabis. So
Right.
so the retail licenses we get our automatic 3%.
Right.
In the agreement, there is a 3% community impact fee up to. The community impact fee is something that we need to demonstrate that there's been an impact of some sort. So there's a demonstration that's required.
On Timber Swamp, I don't know how much impact.
So basically what it's going to be is you're going to pay taxes on the land and the building, right?
Vehicle excise tax.
Property tax.
Yeah, and if they're able to have a wholesale customer in Cannabis Connection, then yeah, that would generate the retail tax to you all.
Right. And just for the record, your names, just for the record?
Officially, Alan Anthony Long III.
Okay.
Jeffrey Daniel Baxa.
That's better than, okay, the nicknames. I just want to make sure I get that for the record. Mike, you have any?
Yeah, I got a lot of questions.
Go ahead.
You haven't touched on your business plan yet at all. First up, now is that agriculture out there? Or is it,
It's
is it
industrial.
zoned-
It's zoned industrial.
Industrial, okay.
Yeah.
And,
Which
yeah,
is what fits that.
Which is what-
You know, I think it fits either one myself if you're growing something, you know what I
well,
mean?
the state decided that the legal definition of agriculture shall not include cannabis because of MGL Chapter 40A, Section 3, which would say any parcel 5 acres or more, you can't zone out agriculture. So the State House said, we're not letting you put giant cannabis farms wherever you want just because you call it a farm. Although to me, it's quintessentially agriculture, right? Seed, in-ground, foster growth, human consumption. But not legally.
Well, first off, I'd like to tell you, being a veteran, which I am,
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
retired veteran, and I'll tell you, that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm glad you chose that path, you know, if you're successful with this. Now, as far as just touch on a little bit of your business plan. What kind of building are you going to put there?
So the plan is to construct a greenhouse, and it's going to look like a steel building from the outside. So metal walls on the outside, or white polycarbonate siding. So it's completely opaque, you can't see inside. It looks like a steel building, and then it's got a clear roof. So it'll look like it'll have 3 pitches. If you're familiar with any sort of commercial greenhouse like you'd see at a nursery, it'll be a high bay, so it'll be a 12-foot sidewall. And then from there, which will be all steel, we've connected.
Did you guys want
Yeah,
to
thank
share these?
Sorry, I'm not a PowerPoint guy, so
Here, you know what?
This is
There's a whole bunch of example photos, and then I don't know if those ones included renderings or if they
I
were.
didn't have the renderings. I just had the
Yeah.
examples. Yeah.
So it'll look like a steel building. The only difference will be it'll have a clear roof.
And I just took a tour about a month ago of a comparable facility in Fitchburg on a much bigger scale, and yeah, driving up, it just looks like a row of steel buildings. Only when you get really close or inside that you see that there's sunlight coming through the ceiling. And that's another sort of strategy to avoid environmental impact. For this, when you use the sun, you don't use artificial lighting.
The other thing is that my father, his hobbies have always been land. It's what he loves doing. So there's nothing that we want to do more than keep the forestry look. The tree line won't be taken down. Chances are it's going to look just kind of like a faint greenhouse through the wood line, but it is across from the CNS wholesale. So I don't imagine many people will be able to see it, and we have no intentions at all of taking that tree line down. There will be a nice driveway that goes into it.
Yeah. Now, as far as, a couple other questions, just real quick. How much water does a facility like that use?
So it's probably between 400 to 600 gallons per day. But yes, but a lot of what you try to do, again, trying to be green-minded, is you recycle rainwater. There's other things that can get done with catch basin, and then there's a lot of recycling. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that, again, this is a personal opinion, is that many other these growth facilities use is that places like INSA have like a 30% runoff on everything that they do. So they flood their tables, and then 30% of everything that they put into that plant goes into a waste, right? You want to get to 0% waste. You want to get to everything going into the ground. It goes right into the plants. It gets evaporated, converted into all of the beautiful terpenes, and then turned into flour.
And just one point under state law, because the way EPA regulates pesticides, they regulate it based on actual plant application. So the word cannabis does not appear on any pesticide list, meaning Massachusetts prohibits the use of pesticides. So there's not going to be, basically tainted effluent, even if they end up having some to sort of.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of this is going to be
Except
covered
for
in
me outside in the
conservation.
spring weeks.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff will be in conservation. I just was wondering,
Absolutely.
like the water. Now, when you use, if you can obviously use city water, because city water is there. Do you have to purify that? Do you have to take the chemicals out of that when you're growing?
So I'll answer that with a potential another left turn, which is our property sits over an easement for a reservoir of non-potable water, which doesn't go to the city's water treatment plant. It's actually from, I think, north.
Southampton is Ty Carmody one?
I believe so.
Yeah, so
So-
we'll be able to use that. I can tell you, no, you won't, I mean, you'd have to get an intergovernmental agreement.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, you'd have to have a petition to the
Okay, never mind.
legislature.
So the
We went down the left turn, we're coming right back to the main
So
road.
the answer is yes.
The other half of the answer is you use some filtering systems,
Right.
and you have to make sure that the big killer of plants is chloramine. And chlorine can be removed from water by oxygenating it, bubbling water through it. And then you have to drop the pH down to between 6.3 and 6.7. But that is all a secondary process. So use some filters, use a big tank, just use their fertilizers, it's phosphorus that drops it down just a little bit, gets it into that sweet spot, and then you apply it into the soil.
I think there's one other thing.
So you guys, so this is your first of this sort of
Correct.
thing? And you're aware that there's some other big ones that are getting ready to go up, and you think you can make it go, which I think that's great. I mean, I don't know anything about the business, but.
I can speak to it and use an alcohol analogy. What's available today in Massachusetts is the Bud Light of weed. Sure, some people like that. As an adult human being, I don't seek out Bud Light because I don't think it's very good. So they're targeting a higher use, basically a higher standard of quality.
Oh, all right.
And it's a fight that the big guys don't want to have, because they look at it and they say, these guys are leaving dollars on the table by making the weed better, and they laugh at people like us. And I say, you're missing the point. It's delightful if you grow it with care, attention, and love.
Right.
So it's just a different top
good.
shelf kind of
No, I
category.
think, no,
I got a kid that'll love that.
So The irony of
Maybe
this
two,
whole
I don't
thing
know.
is that Jeff and I, about 8 years ago,
Careful, you're on camera.
our CDLA driver, who was a Vietnam vet, and he's perfectly healthy now today, so don't feel bad, got news that he had terminal cancer. So he came in and he said, I can give you guys 30 days, I'm gonna live out my best life. So about 25 days later, I was sitting with a DMV instructor in one of our parking lots with our tractor trailer, and because my father had made me move tractors my whole life, it was a breeze to get through. However, as the CEO of Transfer Enterprises, I still go out all the time in the tractor trailer to help the guys out, so I don't partake in cannabis, but this guy who loves the science behind yes, who loves the science behind it. And we're very passionate about what we do. We're passionate about the transformation with furniture, with powder coating and our wood shops, I mean, our fabric shops, everything. We like what it brings. We like the potential that we could have a few greenhouses in a few years. And Jeff, as you can hear with his answers to your questions about water filtration, he enjoys the science behind it. So that brings something to us that, like Blake said, we're not trying to be the big guys.
Yeah, it's a different fight. Yeah, one that I think they can win. And I, for the record, have consumed cannabis almost every day for 25 years and have 3 graduate degrees. So yes, this is what a stoner looks like. You want to call me lazy? That's fine by me.
That was good.
Unfortunately, the military tests you all the time. So.
That's good. Just one last question. Why did you come here? Was it because of the piece of property? Was it because your sister? Why did you pick here?
When we first started working with Blake, one of the things that he told us was, you're never going to be able to find, maybe not in those exact words, is you're never going to find a piece of property because everybody who already knows about all of these things has them marketed and the price is through the roof, or the zoning's incorrect, or there's all these issues, and I knew nothing about it.
It's like going to a hotel and letting the word wedding drop and the price magically goes way, way up. Same thing if you mention the word cannabis. It's just, ooh, sorry, we'll get you.
So I've been coming to Westfield for years. So I was familiar with the area. I'd driven up past the airport a ton of times. I knew that there was a lot of land up there, and I kind of started my search in Westfield because this Cannabis Connection was already here. So I knew that the city council had gone through this process with them. There would probably be some pseudo-friendly reception, I would hope, unless I was completely reading the situation wrong, and that this would be a fantastic place. It seemed like the city was business friendly, that we were going to be able to grow, and that that's kind of like the nuts and bolts.
We also want to be part of a community.
Yeah.
And this is smaller. I mean, we operate out of South Windsor and Manchester, Connecticut. They're not Hartford, it's not Stamford. It's a smaller community.
That's right, yeah.
And we like that. We like the feel of that.
And I don't think I've actually told these fellows this yet, but I also represent Safetiva Labs, which will be opening here as well.
I know, I recognize you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything, but, you know. No, I did recognize you.
So yeah, we'll have in-city testing if you want.
So we, again, keeping things in, again, supporting citywide is, we're already aware that there's a few other, isn't there a processing license coming up here in the city as well?
We have a processing license up Char Drive, Clean Technique.
Bingo.
Oh, yeah.
So there, I'm tracking on a lot of the things that are kind of happening. I'm pretty familiar with what's coming into not only this city, but the surrounding cities. And we want to do business with other local businesses. One of the things I learned from his father was shopping local is 10 times more important than getting a better deal, because you put money in somebody's family's pockets. And you support the people who live in the city and who work in the city. So we've always felt like that. We work with Columbia Manufacturing here in Westfield in our normal business. They sell school furniture.
Yeah, right.
So again, that's doing something where you're not buying big box is a core tenet to being Transfer Enterprises and being Lucky 7.
Are you going to be hands-on with it?
I'm going to run the business.
You're going to run it.
I will be there every day.
He will be
That
there every day. Yep.
Either one of you.
Yep, he'll be
You might.
there every single day.
So you're gonna lose him down there.
That's
Correct.
what we've been prepping for this for a while. He told me 2 years ago, he said, I'm gonna stop coming to work for 2 years, and that way you get used to running the business alone.
Well, we certainly have, what we ran into in Westfield here recently was, I don't know if it's a bee problem or if it's, you probably have a couple of hives up there, huh? For the,
They do happen to love cannabis. I have a client that's
That's
trying
what
to
I mean.
infuse honey by feeding the bees THC. That blows my mind. I don't know how that works.
Whoa.
but we do, they do have, I don't know if I don't grow cannabis, not yet, but.
Perfectly legal.
But
I
anyway,
tried it once and I'm terrible at it. I'm gonna leave it to.
I appreciate you guys, you got a lot of energy and that's what we need. I don't know, maybe PJ, how many facilities would that make it, 6 now?
So we would have, this would be our sixth
Sixth.
HCA, no, maybe more than that. 7 maybe, because we have the 30,000 square foot grow on Falcon Drive.
That's huge.
There's then we have the 4 who are the retail, so that makes 5. And then Clean Technique, and then this one.
And then the process.
Yeah, and then the lab, so Safety Lab, so this would be the 8th.
We won't be known for whips and bicycles anymore.
You got any more
It's
questions?
not gonna be
No,
Whip City
listen,
Turkey,
I
it's gonna be
appreciate
Whip
you guys.
City
You
Weed.
guys came forward, you got a good business plan, and, I know PJ, he's a great guy to deal with the
You
outside.
have been awesome.
And, well, if things work out, welcome to the city, and, I'm impressed.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate your
It
time.
means a lot. It meant enough to us to put the money on the table and buy the property before we knew what the answer would be.
So that's the old Damasco property, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good people.
They're very nice.
Patty,
Very
and
nice.
Tom.
My point of ending, and I appreciate everything you do for veterans, it's very, it's a subject that, is near and dear to my heart, as I said, and I really,
Same.
I do appreciate that.
DJ tipped you off on that veteran thing?
No, but I'll tell you one thing, right? So
I knew anyway. I knew.
When we did the gift cards last Christmas, my father called from North Carolina and he said, hey, how are you guys making out with them? I said, well, Walmart unfortunately doesn't really care about what we're doing, and they only limit you to a certain, it was like 25 cards
Yeah, I
per
heard that.
store.
Yeah, I heard that.
So we had 4 of us driving around to Walmarts all over the state
For a
getting them,
week.
and we had
Every
all of the sales team sitting with cards, and they were writing,
Filling
they
out the cards.
wrote
That
each
is-
one.
That is wonderful. I'm telling you. I'm telling
Kids
you.
are in the
You're good, you got everything?
I got nothing else.
You got all set,
Okay.
Yeah, we're
We're ready
6
to make a
o'clock
motion.
start, so.
Make a motion, Pete?
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Really
Nice
appreciate
to
it.
meet you in person.
Thank you so much.
Nice to see you. Talk soon.
Thanks, Dana.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks PJ, this Walmart down here, they have a wall of fame of veterans, so, I'm sure you can touch base with them, they're good people.
Oh, just one more thing before, for the record, we're just gonna accept Mary Ann's email.
Did you want to read it?
Shoot.
Did you
Yeah,
guys
I'll read
see
this,
the
yeah,
letter?
this was just from a former city councilor that used to be her ward, I think. I hope someone's closely monitoring this project since it appears to be over the aquifer and water resource protection zone with no bay pack in place. I hope there are some expertise in this project. Planning board already approved a marijuana business on the other end of Madeiras, from 250 feet from the aquifer and close to Arm Brook. Will the planning board be having this on their agenda, assuming they will be? I bet you would take a drive down Madeiras for an eye-opening view of the trucking and demolition businesses that are already sited right behind the zone 2s. Too bad for us, that water flow. So she's just pointing out to us, she's a proponent of the clean water and everything.
Yep.
I think you'll hit that in the planning board so I don't think that's part of our, but we will accept it in our
You gotta
committee.
go through the
Yeah,
planning
the
board.
HCA
You
has
gotta go
nothing
through
for us.
Yeah, that's
to
right.
in front.
And I don't want to get involved in
Conservation,
either.
get ready.
And I didn't, the lane questions I was asking, I was just
I actually had
ballpark.
met, just a heads up, I'd met Meredith out there and walked the property from conservation before, so she's walked it with me. We're familiar with where a lot of that stuff was. She requested the wetlands delineation, which we jumped on immediately, so she had a concern one day. I think I called her within 15 minutes of getting a text.
Yeah, they're good at what they do, and they'll
Yeah.
take care of you.
Yeah, no, that's
We don't
beyond
want to
our
ruffle
realm.
any
We
feathers.
don't want to push.
We're here to abide by the laws that are put and to take care of the land. We're not,
Last question, best case scenario when you're gonna be in business? Do you think?
So, the city council, I believe, is meeting again on Thursday, as I heard.
Right.
If we're fortunate enough to get the signature on the host community agreement and the host community agreement certification form, we'll have the application in probably within the first week of July. The commission will sit on it probably for 3 months and we'll hear nothing.
Yeah.
Then we'll get what's known as a request for information. I've been getting fewer and fewer just because I've now helped secure, I think, 55 licenses, so it's not rocket science. You say, here's your standard and here's how you meet it. So yeah, I would anticipate a provisional licensure within the 6 to 9 month range, and then however long the build out time had on the other end, a couple of inspections. So yeah, I'd say early 2022.
So you purchased the property already?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so we're gonna get.
Yep.
All right, well, you know something, I appreciate you guys really being open and honest, and you know, we had a little fun here, but I'll tell you thanks, and really, you know, this is what we want, like PJ said, this is new growth, and that's exactly, he's a businessman, so he knows exactly what, you know, where he comes from, that side of the aisle also, you know, so.
Yep.
But we really do, I do appreciate it.
Can you make a motion?
Which what will we do here? On the mayor's letter?
Approve the host community agreement. They're on the front page.
Motion to approve a resolution of the City Council of Westfield authorizing approval of the mayor to sign a host community agreement, HCA, with Lucky 7 Cannabis Inc., a Massachusetts corporation to be operated at 0 Timber Swamp Road, Westfield, Mass. 01085.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Just make a note that Councilor Oriski was not here to vote, and it's a 2-0 vote. We'll bring it to the council on Thursday. We'll go from there.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck, you guys.
I understand that it is a very long process, and regardless of the outcome, remember transfer enterprises. If you guys have a situation here where veterans, food shelters, things like that, one portion that Jeff kind of touched on, we do decommissions all over the country. So we go out and we find groves of furniture that we need to buy to remanufacture. What comes with that is tons of appliances, fridges, things that are needed in almost all of those settings. In the event that you guys are going through and you say, hey, we really items for the veteran home.
To get all settled in and stuff, I suggest you touch base with Julie Barnes. She's our veterans rep.
That's
She's
fantastic.
We'll do that
fantastic,
before.
plus she worked for her. She
If you can, fire out Jeff, fire an email to her tomorrow and let her know, you know, hey, we're here to help.
You can get it on the you can go there.
Perfect.
That would be.
And I'll mention it to her also, but.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks you guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
gentlemen,
it.
and thank you so much.
Good luck, you guys.
Yeah, good luck to you.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck.
Appreciate your
Nice to meet
time
you.
tonight.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Dad, please.
And he would tell me to tell you the same
Was he
thing.
Navy guy?
He was a Marine. He was a Marine.
What do you mean he was a Marine? He's always a
Oh,
Marine.
he's a Marine. That's true. So he 8 years, and then he went and went to the Army, and he did 26 total.
That's right.
So yeah.
I did Navy.
Hit that intersection.
And so he was retired earlier to.
World's worst sense of
or-
Motion to adjourn, I'm sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Here we go.
late 90s, early 2000s.
Bye, Pete.
And after that, when they were going through Afghanistan, Iraq, he had tried his hardest to go over.
So he was still active during that, even Vietnam, into.
He wasn't active then. He had been talking, he was trying his hardest to have them, and that was probably one of the hardest times that I've seen him go through. He wasn't able to go over. But even now, the guy's 66 years old and he just loves, everything.
Good for him. Tell him I said hello.
I will.
I'd love to meet him sometime.
The next time he comes out, it's very hard to pull him from
Yeah,
North Carolina.
I can imagine.
But I will. Gentlemen, thank you so much for tonight.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Take care at 6:40.
I adjourned before you came back, sorry.
That's a 2-0 for a vote on adjournment.
Yeah.
That's okay. All right, Pete, we're all set?
I told him.
I wasn't gonna adjourn till you came back, but
Good
I
job.
Either way,
wanted to adjourn, so.
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, 1 second.
going the wrong way.
Good, one second.